Welcome to Beyond the Frame, episode 12, a podcast where we dive deeper into the professional lives of an esports creative. I'm your host, Mario Prosperino, co-founder of ESPAT, and we are back across the pond where we have some lovely accents with Sammy and Katy. Sammy and Katy, how are you?
I'm good, thank
doing
you.
good, really good. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. Let's kick things off. I want to talk about the last year. Here we are, March 2021 already, and it just seems like it's gone pretty fast. Sometimes it's gone slow. You know, the pandemic, rocked everybody, especially you guys in Europe. It kind of hit you guys before us here in the States. Let me start with Sammy. Take me back. What this has done to you personally, professionally. How have you kind of kept your sanity? Are things getting better where you live as well?
Yeah, I think personally it has been quite rough. I think that's for everyone as well. Everyone's like kind of struggled through this really weird period of time. So I've created, because I was furloughed kind of at the start of lockdown last year. So I kind of kept habits up just so I get a routine. So I tried to read every day, go for a walk, anything that's kind of safe. But in terms of work, like that hit us hard. I think me and Katy, our last event was this COD League. I think that was our last, and then everything was kind of shut down. So in terms of photography work, there was nothing. So yeah, that was really tough, for sure.
Have you picked up any hobbies along the way? Have you found anything that may, you started doing versus you may have not had a time if this was 2020 and full of events?
Yeah, so I think I tried a bunch of things. I tried to do, some digital drawing, tried to pick up the guitar, but I think it's gathering dust right now. But yeah, something just to try and keep being creative. I think for us, we all kind of want to make sure we're doing something. I feel like if I'm not productive, I feel a little lost. So yeah, definitely just like reading and just getting through, just like drawing. That was really nice. Quite therapeutic, I think.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah, guitar is something that when things quiet down for me, I love to kind of pick up a guitar and be an old, maybe old rocker. Who knows? Katy, you were on an ESPAT credential, Call of Duty in London, February 2020. So here you are having, the time of your life, creating some great content for us, thinking about like, how many more gigs do I have lined up for 2020? So, take me back to, when the pandemic first came to London. Did you think it would last this long? And, how has it affected you personally as well as professionally?
Yeah, so at that event, it was kind of like, it wasn't really real at that point. Like nobody was really taking it very seriously. And, we were sort of seeing it on the news and we were like, oh dear. Genuinely didn't think that this would happen at all or it would even come to us. So it has been one weird year. In terms of work, I ended up getting a full-time job around April time because, like Sammy said, there was no photography work. It kind of, everything just shut down. I think my event afterwards, I think I had booked at that point was like Insomnia coming up, and got the message that was going to be cancelled as well. So it kind of like, we kind of like pushed us all back a bit, and it's been really strange not having any events at all this year.
Yeah, brutal for the whole gig economy, not just photographers, videographers, but venues, TOs, people who rely on selling merch and concessions and transportation and tourism and what have you. So yeah, fingers crossed. So let's go back 5-6 years ago. Get me a little bit more insight, Sammy, as far as your childhood. So now you're not from Europe. Tell me more about your upbringing. Tell me more about, your first console, gaming, what that's done for your life.
Oh, yeah, gotta think quite far back now. So yeah, originally I'm from Macau. I think my first console was probably my mum's like really old Game Boy that was like a gray like block. It wasn't in color yet. Yeah, I think I don't know. I can't remember what game I was playing, but yeah, I think growing up, I got my creativity from my mum. Like she used to like draw. We had this when I was growing up in Macau. We had this wall that my parents let me and my sister just like scribble on. So I think there was a lot of just ways for us to kind of be creative. I think I didn't get. I think PlayStation 1. I got that when I moved here when I was like 10. And then kind of got into Xbox and Halo. That was kind of the main game I was playing with friends. So growing up.
What's the biggest difference between, if you remember, playing by yourself now interacting with a headset? Like, so I'm gonna age myself. We didn't have, Xbox Live where we could, interact and talk smack back and forth. So, do you remember actually just playing by yourself? And now that you look back, it was kind of odd a little bit.
I think.
Or do you play by yourself now as well?
No, I think mainly with friends. But no, I think I was lucky that I had a sister, so I think whenever we did play, there was someone else I can kind of just like drag along. So no, I can't remember really playing much. I think there's always like either like a mini kind of LAN, I guess now we call it.
Sure.
Like we'd go to someone's house and we'd play on their console. But yeah, definitely like the whole kind of community definitely just grew, like it widened because there's internet. You can play, with someone across the world. I can play with Katy, So yeah, it definitely opened a lot of opportunities up. And I think that's why esports grew the way it did.
Absolutely. Katy, take me back a few years as well. Young Katy, some of your interests growing up, were you into sports, video games, any other hobbies or activities?
Yeah, so originally I'm from the northeast up in Middlesbrough, and I moved down to Chesterfield about 10 years ago. I think my own console was a Game Boy Color. It's a Pokemon one. It's actually like up in that shelf. And a Nintendo 64 as well. So yeah, they were the first consoles that I had. And like Sammy says, I have a brother and a sister, so it was always a fight on who got to play at what time. Growing up, I did a lot of competitive swimming and gymnastics, and I kind of sort of stopped that as I got a bit older and did a lot more gaming. So I think the first time I started playing with like friends as a group was definitely Xbox Live, but before that I played a lot of single player games. And I think the first sort of game that I got into was like Call of Duty, and then I used to play Saints Row a lot with my friends, like the online multiplayer. That was quite fun. And yeah, it just sort of grew from being a kid, just constantly playing games, and now I'm here.
So I imagine so you're not swimming, you're not doing gymnastics anymore, right?
No, but I have recently taken up roller skating again because I did used to like ice skating, so something that I can actually do like on my own as well, and just getting some fresh air. It's been really nice. Like now the weather's getting a bit better.
Good for you. Good for you. So let's get into the creative aspect and when you guys first picked up gear, picked up a camera. Sammy, do you remember the first camera you had, and where did you get your inspiration from? Like, when did the light bulb go off and you said, hey, I want to start making some pictures?
I think I was on holiday with my parents. I was visiting and my dad got me my first camera. It was the Nikon D90. So that lasted me a while. I used it for college projects. I think that's how I properly got into it. Kind of with college, I used photography to kind of back up the graphic design work. But yeah, I think after that I went to some gaming expos like EGX and Insomnia, and that kind of sparked the whole esports photography. I think my first event was the Call of Duty Open. I think it was in Blackpool. So yeah, got a real like taste of the action and the reactions and environment of esports.
Well, how did that opportunity arise? So, like, how do you actually get into the event? Take me back as far as building relationships, actually, starting to immerse yourself within esports.
So with Insomnia, I did volunteer as like, I think they call it the green shirt. It's basically just you help out at the stalls, and that was maybe, I can't remember, that was quite far back. And with these events, I just went out of my own pocket. So I'd find out from Twitter that these events are happening. I'd go, and then after a while, I did start picking up, small teams and clients and build and basically try to at least break even with, the tickets, with accommodation, and just kind of work from there. But yeah, at the start, it's all just from, hobby and interest, and see how that can grow into something.
Katy, what about yourself? Take me back when you got your first camera and when you said, you know what, I can do this.
So I kind of didn't originally really want to do anything creative when I was in school and college. I really wanted to be a vet. Unfortunately, when I got to college, the step was a bit too big for me, and unfortunately I wasn't quite smart enough. And when we moved to Chesterfield, I started college again, and I decided to go down the creative route because I always liked drawing and stuff like that when I was younger. And my nana was quite creative as well, and she was really into cameras and photography. So I kind of think I picked it up from her a little bit. I think my first camera was when I was at college as well, and it was a Canon 600D, I think it was. My mum bought me it for my 18th birthday, because I went from sixth form in Middlesbrough to college in Chesterfield. So that was my first camera, and I loved it. I was taking photos of everything. My dog, just literally going down the street, like plants, all sorts. And then when I went to uni, I started doing photojournalism, and then decided it was kind of too focused and wanted to do more stuff creative. So I changed and went on to digital media production. So I had like more skills behind me. I first got into my first esports event was, I think it was Insomnia as well. I volunteered to do camera ops, so it was like filming the stages and stuff like that. But there was too many people doing it, and I took my camera with me, and they kind of just said, "Oh, do you want to jump over to the esports stage and take some photos?" And I was like, "Okay, sure, I'll try it out. I'll see what it's about." And from that point, honestly, I was hooked. I was like, I really want to do this. I really want to get into this. So yeah, that was kind of the first time I got to experience esports.
Katy, what's it been like just being a female and entering this space? And I know there's some renowned, photographers on the female side, Adela, Helena. There's a few of them. Tell me, have you some ups, some downs? Have you felt some sort of challenges along the way?
Yeah, there's been a few, especially at the start, because I-57 was like 4 years ago, and it's only a short space of time, really, but it's felt like there was a lot less girls around at them events than there is now. I feel like there's a lot more women at events, and in all different parts of it, like from behind the stage, photography, videography, all that kind of stuff. There's plenty more women now, but originally I was quite intimidated. There have been some issues with people in the past, but thankfully I've gotten past them. So yeah, it's been okay, mostly, for me anyways.
Great. Appreciate that. Sammy, tell me more about the translation from being a fan of the sport, esports, or Call of Duty, or whatever title, and then actually translating into actually doing your job. I mean, does it make it much easier for you, or is there a separation from being a fan of the title game versus doing your job?
I think for me, no. If I'm there to do a job, like that's what I'm there for. I think it definitely is cool if you see like a really famous professional player, like but I think a lot of the time, if they're behind the scenes, once they've like come off the stage, like they are just there to like relax and chill. Yeah, I don't think we should really go and like disturb their space. I think, yeah, I'm not like a kind of, yeah, I wouldn't say I'd like want to go and approach them. Yeah, I'd say be professional. If you're there to, take photos on stage and on the venue, like do that. Yeah, I don't really have like a huge attachment to like the pros and really want to like go and make myself known, get signatures or selfies like that.
But could you see yourself producing the same quality of content if I sent you to Wimbledon or an F1 race, or something that you're not as passionate about?
I mean, I'd be able to get results, but I think, yeah, there's some kind of, there is that interest there in hobby, and I think that does show in work. Like if you're really excited, you would try and think outside the box, and maybe there's a different shot that you want to try. Also, just like familiarity, I think, with kind of what's going on, that really helps, because if you understand the kind of the schedule and when things are happening, the venue, like where you can get certain angles of the stage or the players, yeah, I think being a fan and like interest in gaming and knowing those and how like even how the in-game plays out, I think that does actually help a lot, just having that knowledge.
Absolutely. Katy, what about yourself? Take me to London COD, the energy that day, that weekend, the fan base. What do you remember from that event? There's a few teams that came in that really put on a good show. Take us back to London, February 2020.
Yeah, that was a really good event. I really enjoyed it. It's always good when it's an event where the crowd is really responsive and everyone's just enjoying themselves, because it just makes good photos. I know that it was quite loud in there. Like the London fans are always like the UK fans always show up for COD events. I remember the first time I experienced that was at it's CGL Birmingham or something, when they came to Insomnia. There was a huge crowd then as well, and the UK crowd always really give it to the players and the other teams, but they really do support the home crowd, the home team even.
Now, as a freelancer for us that weekend, we kind of want to give a creative the keys to the car and say, hey, just go do your thing. Unlike working for an org, you have a kind of a traditional shot list. Be here at 2 p.m. I need you here at 3:30. Katy, so that was kind of like you were the art director that weekend. Like, take us through like your shot list. What was your mindset when you got to the venue, and what are you looking for? What is the story you're trying to tell? In this case, as a newsworthy photographer.
Yeah. So it's kind of difficult because we couldn't actually get access onto the stage. But I did have a long lens, so I could sort of try and get decent angles of the players on stage. In terms of like the shot list, normally good crowd shots, try and get as much of the venue in as possible. Like make the stage look as appealing as it can and just show off the event as much as possible. And try and get good reactions, and that always happens with COD. So that's the players give us that. And it's just knowing when it might happen and just preparing for them shots. So
yeah. You bring up a really good point as far as the crowd shots, because as an industry, we all have to sell the sport, so we have to actually show the scope of an event. 18,000 fans in major arenas, maybe 7,000, 8,000 fans in other venues. But when non-endemic outlets are writing about the phenomenon of esports and gaming, they're going to be looking for those photographs of, you know, the fisheye lens with a general view of the entire crowd. So kudos to you, Sammy. You're involved on the business end of esports as well, right? So you get commissioned by brands. Tell me more about some of the brands you've kind of worked with. What's that been like over the last couple of years as well?
So yeah, right now I'm full-time DLC Studios. So yeah, we do work with brands and companies like Red Bull, like Ubisoft. Yeah, this past year we've done a lot of graphics work because there's not been any events. But I think it's really interesting to be on kind of this end of it. Just not being, yeah, it's weird not being like at the stage and just being kind of proactive and more behind the scenes and just creating a relationship with these companies.
Have they given you guys a lot of autonomy to kind of help tell their story? A lot of these brands have been sponsoring traditional sports properties for many years. So when they come into our space, you know, how much do they rely on you guys to actually help guide them in storytelling and brand content?
I think that's something we work with the client. They obviously have got a mission, like they know what they want to do, but obviously they're not really as involved in the space. So yeah, I think for us, part of that is consultation and just help them through, okay, what you need and how to show things to actually target these audiences. Yeah, because I think that there's like definitely a difference with traditional and esports.
For sure. Great. Katy, I want to call you out. You were nominated this year or 2020 for Esports Awards Photographer of the Year. What was your first reaction, and what was it like when you got that message?
I was really shocked, to be honest, because I really didn't expect it. I feel like there's a lot of really good photographers that could have been up there as well. So it was a really nice surprise. And yeah, just watching it live on the stream, I was just really shocked.
Who give me a couple of photographer names that drive you, that when you see their work really inspires you to get to the next level. Also, have anybody in our space been a really good mentor for you over the last couple of years as well?
Yeah, so photos wise, Rich Locke, I think he's incredible. His photos are just always so crisp, and they really do show off events perfectly. And Joe Brady, he's been a good mentor to me. He's been a good friend as well. I worked alongside him a few times now, and he's always just a really good person to be around, and his photos are amazing as well.
And tell me more about some of these photographers, just as people, as individuals. So, you know, Rich won the Esports Awards Photographer of the Year. Joe has won the award in the past. Tell me more about just the human side. You know, how gentle and how accommodating some of these creatives have been for you guys. And I'll stick with Katy.
Yeah, so initially it's quite intimidating being a bit of an amateur to begin with, like meeting these people, because you know they're already quite well established and they're really good at what they do. But no, they've been so friendly. They're willing to give advice if I've ever had any questions. They've always been super helpful, and they're just really nice guys. Like, I'm not sure why I was intimidated, because yeah, they're just lovely people.
Well, full confession, when I first reached out to Joe, I was intimidated as well. So
Yeah.
but yeah, he's a great person. Ironically, he was the first photographer I ever spoke to summer of 2018. I said, hey, we're starting this company, and I think you're the guy that I want to talk to just to really pick your brain. So yeah, we're always going to be in debt to Joe. Just a really, really awesome guy.
Yeah.
Sammy, tell me more about, do you have kind of like a tribe in your little community as far as, you know, people you bounce ideas back and forth, or just, you know, very friendly with?
I think within the company I'm working in right now, there's definitely like we would kind of talk about ideas. I do agree with Katy though. Rich Lock and Joe are definitely just one of those people who are really genuine. I think at events they are like just really willing to help you, and with them there's always at events like oh, like what shot, like they're not afraid to actually tell you, hey, like over there's like quite a nice little angle, like you might want to try that. I think we need more of that, helping each other in the community. I think another two names that comes up is Ravi. He's done some photography work for ESL UK, and Sam Allard, like we worked at Insomnia for the CWL Birmingham when all the NA pros like came. I think it was the second one that they did there.
What do you guys make of Call of Duty in Europe, in London? So primarily North American franchises, and you have a couple out in Europe with Paris and London. What do you guys make of COD actually, having a footprint in your backyard? Katy, I'll start with you.
Sure. I think it's great. I do think that in the UK, like esports it's a little bit lacking. So to see like events like the one last year in February is amazing. For COD in the UK. Like I say, there's not been that many events, I don't think, besides that one and the few at Insomnia that I've seen. So unless they've been like on a smaller scale. So it was really nice to see.
What about you, Sammy? What do you think of the franchise model?
Yeah, I think it's great that there is one in the UK, in London. I think the Call of Duty scene in the UK is like fairly big. So I think it did. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fans for the London Ravens. Yeah, I like that there's a lot of events kind of dotted around and having this like home and away kind of competition. But yeah, I think we could do with more in the UK, like events, not just Call of Duty, but yeah, it'll be really cool. You guys over in America gets all the cool events, so we want some over here.
Yeah, we get a rush of going to the events, and our 2020 calendar was pretty significant. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get back to home series, city to city. Tell me more about whether it's kids in the neighborhood. If you have younger cousins, are they growing up following esports, or is it still football, soccer for you guys, or rugby, or whatever is the thing out there? Do you see a fan base getting created right in front of your eyes by chance, Katy?
I don't really have any cousins or family close that are quite young, so I'm not too sure, to be honest. We're all kind of grown up now,
or just becoming gamers. Just somebody, I myself, a father of 3, I'm competing with Minecraft for their attention. I'm competing with Roblox. I'm competing with the Xbox, with what my 15-year-old is up to on weekends. Just in general, the attention span today versus maybe 10 years ago, if you can kind of touch on that.
Yeah, I think Fortnite is probably the one thing that I saw that got a lot of young players in, because you see kids walking down the street with Fortnite t-shirts on and stuff like that. So I think that and Minecraft, like you said, definitely sort of like drawn kids into gaming a lot more, especially because they can play with their friends now. So yeah, definitely.
What do you think, Sammy?
Yeah, I think so similar to Katy, I don't have like any like a lot younger cousins. So I did babysit this kid, and yeah, he's really into Minecraft as well, and he watches YouTubers talking about Minecraft, playing it. And I think with that, it does kind of grow gaming. That's kind of how they get into gaming. Yeah,
a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what anytime you can actually build a community, and I've always said, like, my older child, my 15-year-old, the minute his friends log off is when he logs off. It's just no fun, pretty much playing by yourself.
Yeah.
Sammy, are there certain players out there that kind of bring out the best in you as far as making a photograph? Can you name a couple of players, Call of Duty, any sort of title that that's the guy or that's the gal that I want to get a good frame of?
I think,
or a team.
That's a good question. I think it depends on the game. I think the game, actually, I think Gears of War and Call of Duty has a lot of reaction. I can't really pinpoint anyone that really kind of stands out to me. I think that there are a few Call of Duty pros that do like to stand up and shout, and I think it does make us photographers, our job a lot easier and just more fun when you get a really nice shot of a reaction and you feel good about it. I can't really think of certain players or teams. I think for me, Call of Duty and Gears of War, they bring out a lot of good reactions. I think, Katy, you were talking about FIFA the other day.
Yeah. So probably one of my favorite reaction shots was one I got last year, and that was of, I think it was Scump and Formal, and Scump was doing a stereotypical choking. Yeah. It was actually Pez. So when I went to do the Pez European and I think it was America tour, South America maybe, and the World Finals, the Pez players really do like to give it. They have a lot of emotion when they're playing, and Tekken too. I found Tekken players get really into it because I guess it's quick, isn't it? So if you win on a hair, on a tiny bit of health, then you're just going to be super pumped. So yeah, they do give good reactions.
What do you guys think our responsibility is as creatives to actually create stars? And by that, I mean just raising the profile of these players. Everybody has a look, who's got the tattoo sleeve, who has the funky hair, who just brings on a persona. I just think we have a responsibility, or at least an opportunity, to start creating identities and personalities. And do you think it's possible, Sammy?
I think so. I think it's just having them being able to use photographs as their profile pictures, or I think a lot of amateur League of Legends, if we have got photos of them, they can create a looking for team kind of thing. It kind of, instead of an in-game champion that organizations might not be able to connect as well, it's not the player. So I think even with the Insomnia events, a lot of the amateur scene, they after an event, they'd see me kind of running around. They'd be like, Sammy, did you get a photo of me? Is there something I can use? I think it less so with professionals who are already quite well known and famous. There's a bunch of archive photographs of them. But I think for amateur players and these competitors who don't get the spotlight a lot, they really appreciate any kind of content of them.
No, I agree. And Katy brought up a great point with SKump. That photograph got picked up quite a few times in major publications, from ESPN to Forbes and what have you. I mean, if he just stood up and maybe raised his fist, it got no pickup. But just showing persona and different kind of just goofiness, for the lack of a better word, is what I would love to see more often. And Katy, I mean, when you took that photo, did you think that it would get so much pickup, days and months down the road?
I was really excited when I got the photo. I was like, yes, that is a good shot. But no, I didn't expect it to do so well, I guess. But that's me probably just being a bit modest about my work. So
yeah, I mean, frame by frame, did you see it coming? Was it just kind of right place, right time? They win a match. It's SKump, it's formal. Then he kind of gives that gesture. little bit of luck? I mean, how would you describe it?
I think if I remember correctly, it was potentially a really close game. And I think that they reverse sweeped them. And I was just waiting for them to do that last round. And I was just ready. And they just both stood up and I was just there. So it was good timing.
Unbelievable. Great frame. Let me get into social media and what it's meant for you guys. How have you embraced it? How do you utilize it as a tool to not just build a fan base, but also kind of drive opportunities as a gig worker? Sammy, let me start with you. Tell me more about your social game, whether it's Twitter, or Instagram, any other platforms out there that you kind of utilize as a vehicle.
I'd say I'm pretty terrible. I think I could definitely use it more. Yeah, I think it's really good. Like I say, I did use Twitter to kind of hear about what events are coming up, and yeah, I think just connecting with the community, with these amateur Call of Duty players, they used to just tweet at me, and yeah, I think that built a bit of a following just by being the event photographer. People do tend to follow you and just to see if they've got any shots of them. No, it's a really good tool. I think Twitter is probably my main one. I think a lot of gamers, people in esports, do use Twitter a lot. I have been using LinkedIn a bit more because I don't know, I feel like that's more of a boomer thing and I'm like reaching there. So
look at these old farts on LinkedIn,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely just having conversations on Twitter, getting to know other photographers, other creatives, and just see what they're doing. I think I get a lot of inspiration from them as well. Katy posting her photographs, Joe, Rich Lock. So yeah, it's a good platform.
What about you, Katy? You've embraced Twitter. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't think I would be here now if it wasn't for Twitter, because it's literally where the whole scene is, I would say. Like, just getting your photos out there and like getting known at the events, like people start following you on Twitter, like Sammy says, and it kind of snowballs from there. But yeah, I genuinely don't think I would be where I am without Twitter. So
have you seen I've asked this question before, various creatives. Do you guys see a difference of style of creativity, European based creatives versus here we are in the States? Sammy?
You guys, I feel like you guys get a lot more sun. You guys can do more outside with with players and doing a lot of shoots. No, but I think I'd say it's more just the creator. I don't think there's any kind of trend that I can see. It's just the in this case, like the photographers kind of mark and how they see things, where they are. And I think a lot of it does come in with kind of in post and how they edit the photos, because everyone's got their likes and dislikes. I think everyone's got their own style in terms of how they edit and shoot. But yeah, it's nice.
What about you, Katy? Do you see any striking differences between some of the photographers you follow here in the States versus in Europe?
I wouldn't say so. I like Sammy says, I think everyone's sort of got their own individual style, haven't they? And I'm not sure that I've seen sort of anything that would be sort of like just sort of region based. But yeah, I think you guys get good like stadiums. And there have been a few in Europe as well. Like I went to MSI, I think in 2018, and that was in France, and that was a really nice venue as well. So yeah, I think it just does depend on the photographer and, like Sammy says, how they edit in post. But yeah, I'm not sure that there's much of a difference, to be honest.
What about advice that we can pass down to the the up and coming creatives that are looking at us and saying, okay, let me try to convince mom and dad that this could be a profession for me. Sammy, give me the good, the bad, the ugly, be as candid as you possibly can.
The bad, I think it's going to be rough at the start. I think to build up some kind of traction and getting known, I think there's a lot of creatives, right? And to make yourself stand out, that can be really difficult. So I think if it's something you really enjoy doing, just push on, do it for yourself. Go to events, obviously when it's safe to do, and just kind of push on. I'd say, I think in terms of photography, being at events, make sure you know your equipment, and just understand your shot list. I think if you're working even for a client or for yourself, make sure these are good practices to kind of learn from. And once you get into working with a client or a tournament organizer, you then already have some of these skills, and in your portfolio you can show these different shots, and that you understand, okay, I do need to photograph the audience because I understand that these tournaments do need them for the decks to show sponsors and stuff.
Katy, what's your piece of advice?
Like Sammy said, know your kit, and potentially if you're in a LAN hall, try not to use your flash because flash is just not good for players. I have seen it, and I've heard complaints about people using flash before. So if you're coming into it fresh, just try not to use flash. I know it's really hard because a lot of the time it's very dark. And I guess as I started, I did a bit of volunteering and just try and get to know people. It is hard because I think it is quite saturated now. There's a lot of people trying to do the same thing. But just keep trying to get to know people, and I think that's the best way, is knowing lots of people.
And understand that it's a business as well. So be buttoned up, understand, get things papered up, understand what the ask is, what the the obligation is for that client. But just be buttoned up and understand that it is a business. This is not a fanboy industry where you just want to go to an event because you're just enamored with, Gears or Call of Duty or Dota or what have you. Understand that you're there to do, a job. Be very careful on social media. I tell people at that point, you are representing that client, even though you're a freelancer. So you having an opinion on Black Lives Matter or politics or this or that, kind of keep that to yourself, because, that weekend, you're kind of under the microscope. What about if I had to give you guys kind of a wish list, one flight, one credential? Is there something on your bucket list, Sammy, that you would love to get to in the near future as a creative?
Worlds, League of Legends Worlds. Me and Katy.
Sounds familiar.
Definitely. I think the next one is in China again. I would love to go to that one for sure.
What is it about the scope of the event? Is it just numerous countries and teams converging into one location? Is it just a spectacle? Is it the pre-show, everything that kind of leads up to the matches?
I think for one, I've just not been to a Worlds event, and I think the whole build-up, I think I would just love to be able to take photos of the event, of the players, of the crowd. I think it'll just make really good photographs, even if it's just for myself, for my portfolio, just to have some of that work. You can definitely kind of bring to a client. But I think for me, definitely just the fun of it, to just be there, taking photos and just having those experience that.
Yep. Katy?
Yeah, so for me, it's because League of Legends was the first PC game that I got into, so it was like kind of my first like proper look into like really competitive esports. And I remember, I think it was I-58 where I dragged Sammy to watch. Was it Warzone at the time?
TSM.
Yes, it was a good game, and they had it on the big screen, and I was like, Sammy, look, this is so good. So yeah, that's always been my dream, kind of from the beginning, to be honest. Because I haven't had a chance to shoot like a big full arena event yet. I think COD is probably one of my bigger events that I've shot like last year, so that was really good for me. I really enjoyed that, and I just like the chance to prove myself at a much bigger event like that. So yeah, that'd be good.
And just from a tourism standpoint, is there a city or a country you've been dying to go to? Kind of combine it with an esport event. Is there some beautiful location that's on your bucket list, Sammy?
Oh, that's a good one. I think there's not like a location. I think I'd love to shoot a fighting game event in America. I think Robert Paul's done so many, and I would just love to be in that environment and just experience those reactions. But luckily, I've been to Atlanta twice, just like through projects. So those are the yes, the Smite World Champions. Yeah, so those are the only times I've been to America. I think I would like to experience some more American like events. Yeah.
Katy, have you been to American soil?
I have not.
Not okay.
Wait, hang on. No. Wait, no. This is going to sound really stupid and blonde, but I've been to Mexico, but that's south, right?
Nice beaches, yeah. Texas. I don't think it's a hotbed for esports at the moment, but we've had ESL1 here in Brooklyn, and obviously they've been in Chicago, and I think they were supposed to have a big event in Denver right before when COVID came as well, and that got canceled. But listen, we have our DreamHacks, our TwitchCons, our PAX, our E3 unfortunately got canceled again, June of 2021, second year in a row. So yeah, we're lucky here in the States. There's plenty of events. I took my son and his friends to the Fortnite World Cup. Really, really great atmosphere. Seeing parents and their kids, not going to a baseball game for a change, but going to, see this spectacle and seeing Booga win, $3 million and confetti coming down and DJ Marshmallow. So that was a pretty cool environment. So yeah, it's a very interesting choice of entertainment that now we have at our disposal. I'm kind of seeing it through the lens of my oldest, but also just through the lens of photographers and the magnitude of these events. And I'm so glad that, there's really a bevy of creatives that we have at our disposal to get something done. And tell me more about Europe as well. Like, where you guys are, you mentioned saturated. Is it as saturated as other parts of Europe, or is it more kind of like a Germany kind of a footprint, or what parts of Europe do you see more creatives coming out of, if that's something you guys could touch on? It's kind of spread out, right?
Yeah, it's quite a difficult one. I think
you guys have a good number of photographers in and around UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, some really talented photographers. I think, you tend to see more kind of around where the events are. So Germany, you do see quite a bit more, or at least notice more than, I think other parts. I'm assuming there's photographers everywhere in Europe.
Would you guys pack your bags on a moment's notice if, Anora gave you guys a call and said, hey, we need you in, Denmark, Sweden, Berlin, you name it. This is where we're located. Is that something that you guys would actually pack your bags and hit the road?
I definitely would.
Yeah, for sure.
Katy, how great would it be? Katy, how great would it be if like a team in LA called you, or a team in New York?
I would love that, because
you would actually come across the pond and kiss mom and dad goodbye and say I'm moving to the States?
I would, yeah. I wouldn't. I think that would be an amazing opportunity, just to travel somewhere new, be somewhere new for a time, and get to experience like lots of new things. Yeah, I would happily do that. I would happily relocate for good work.
All right. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the fun part of the pod. 2 dinner guests. Let's start with Sammy. Let's get into Sammy's head and see, some of Sammy's interests.
Ooh, so recently, with more just graphic design work, I think one of the guests I'd like to have Chris Doe, just to pick his brains and see what he has his company, The Future, and he's basically educating people on design and the business of it. Yeah, I'd like to just have a conversation with him just to see his thoughts on design.
Anybody else?
Another one, I watch a lot of his YouTube videos. Matt Diavella, he's a minimalist filmmaker. He does a lot of talks into kind of productivity and stuff like that, and just looks like he makes the greatest coffee. So if he can make me one during dinner, yeah, I'll take it.
Nothing wrong with that. Katy, what about yourself? Can you come up with two dinner guests?
Mine's kind of like a little bit deep, but it would be my nana. I lost her 2 years ago, so I would love just to have dinner with her again. And
did you spend a lot of time with her growing up? Was this somebody that lived near you?
Yeah, my nana used to look after us a lot when my mum used to go to work. So yeah, we were really close, and yeah, God, I miss her so much. But yeah, she would be one of my dinner guests for sure.
What have you learned from her? Like when you step outside and you do something in life and you say, wow, like I almost kind of get that from my grandmother. Is there something that you can kind of take away from that relationship?
Yeah, she was really creative and she was really funny, to be honest. And I don't think she meant to be. And she was just always really happy. So I do try and see the best things in certain situations. So yeah.
Now I got to ask you, because I come from an immigrant background, and the way my parents treat my kids or interact with them is much different than when I was their age and they were my parents, if that makes any sense, right? So if I threw a ball in the house and it broke something as a kid, it was like shit's gonna hit the fan. When the grandkids do it, it's like, what's the big deal? It's no big deal. It's just a light. Do you can you remember and go back as far as like what it was like, how your mom treated you versus the way your grandmother looked at you as you got older?
Yeah, definitely. I see it quite a bit actually with my niece, my sister's daughter, because when she comes round, she can't do anything wrong even if the house is trashed. So but I know that we wouldn't have got away with that as kids. So yeah, it's definitely very similar.
Yeah. Spoil your grandkids, love your grandkids. It's a pretty easy job. And do you have a second person that you would love to reconvene with, or just actually have at the table?
Yeah, so my second person would be Lewis Capaldi, because I think he's really funny. I went to see him perform. It must have been 2 years ago now, but again, my nana really loved him, so I think that it would be a blast at the dinner table.
Yeah, take you back in time. And so he's a comedian, is that right?
He's a singer.
Singer, okay.
Yeah.
I gotta look him up. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think he sort of made it big in America a bit afterwards, from the UK. I'm not sure how he's doing at the moment, but yeah, he's quite funny on social media. He has quite a few popular posts on Twitter.
All right, cool. Let us know where we can find you guys on Twitter or Instagram, and where we can, kind of take a look at some of your past work and hopefully some future work as we get back to business. Sammy, socials?
Yeah, so Twitter is Sammy SAMMYLAM_. Right now, I don't have a personal portfolio, but if you want to check out my company's work, then it's dlcstudios.gg.
Great. Katy, where do we find you?
Yeah, so I'm Katy Eyre, which is KTYLEYRE, and that's on Twitter. And my photography Instagram is KLE Photo, I think it is.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah, it has, since I've had to use Instagram. But yeah, my website is linked on both of those. So if you wanted to have a look, it's just under there.
Well, super. Thanks again for coming on. Again,
Thank you.
episode 12.
Thank you.
Beyond the Frame podcast with Sammy and Katy. Can't wait for everybody to get back to events. And yeah, like I said, thanks again for coming on. Learned a lot about you guys. And again, be well, be safe, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank
You too.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.